I don't think anybody wants to die while doing this job.
I kind of wanted to cover some of those little questions that help people, without making it policy, just help people make better decisions.
Help them get over the hump, maybe, of just, should I or shouldn't I type thing. Yeah. Any instance when you may be faced with bad weather, rain, lightning, hail, you want to stop the loading process, because that type of situation is going to take you away from the truck and not able to really be in attendance and not be able to observe the loading process. So you want to stop loading. You want to stop the pump on the truck, stop the pump at the LAC, whatever you need to do, you need to stop loading. Close a valve on the trailer, make sure the flow of oil has stopped. The best thing for you to do at that point is to go seek shelter in your cab. In some instances, if you arrived at a lease and you haven't started a hookup and the weather turns bad and you could tell obviously that there's lightning in the area, the best course of action may be at that point is to actually physically leave the lease in your truck. Not put yourself in a situation where, if there, in the event that there were a lightning strike, that it's not, you're not in a position where you have to evacuate on foot.
Let's say it's pretty obvious before you get to the lease, if it's lightning, just don't hook up.
Absolutely.
Maybe not even pull up close to the tanks. Just maybe sit off to the side and see if it'll pass.
To me, that's your best course of action and your safest course of action, because of the fact that you want to try to create some distance between you and that tank battery as much as you can. And if you haven't started the hooking up process, then the best thing to do is to not enter the facility, let the storm blow through, and wait. Best thing to do is to wait.
Say you're loading and it's maybe been sprinkling, maybe been raining just a little bit off and on, but suddenly, boy, there's a flash and it's not too far away.
Immediately stop the loading process. Stop the transfer of oil from the tank to the truck. Close a valve, turn off a pump, and then immediately seek shelter in your truck.
Now, do you leave your hoses hooked up?
In that event, when lightning is that close and you need to seek shelter immediately, the best thing to do is to leave things as is and to seek shelter in your truck.
So protect yourself.
Protect yourself first, but what you could do to mitigate any issues, if you had to abandon the truck for whatever reasons, the valve would be closed, the pump wouldn't be running, you wouldn't be transferring oil at that point. So you need to be thinking about that part of it. Stop the transfer of oil, turn the pump off, either at the LAC or the truck pump, close a valve, and seek shelter immediately.
If you needed to walk away, you could walk away safely.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to be leaving oil on the ground anywhere you go.
Correct.
How close should the lightning be, and how can you judge how close is too close before you decide I need to shut down to get in my cab?
Well, I guess a good rule of thumb there would be is if it's in your immediate area, you can see it flashing in the sky and you're seeing an active storm go through, that's close enough. Waiting till the last second, waiting for the storm to be right on top of you, to me, you've waited too long. You've now put yourself in a very bad situation where it's going to force you to abandon what you're doing immediately, and you may not have that opportunity to stop the truck pump or close a valve. Give yourself that time to do that.
Would you say this is a judgment call on the driver's part? Because it's really difficult for me personally to tell, oh, that lightning's 10 miles away, or that lightning's 5 miles away.
Well, maybe a good rule of thumb would be there is if your children were standing right next to you while you were either loading or unloading, would you want them standing out there during an active thunder and lightning storm? Kind of put yourself in that type situation. And I think maybe you could use that as a rule of thumb on a lot of things. So to answer your question, is it a judgment call? Yeah, it is. Sometimes we don't always exercise the best judgment. We get tunnel vision and we think about just getting that load on, or in some cases getting that load off, and we forget to take our safety in account for that.
I think it would be more difficult for a lot of people to shut down near the end of a load than it would be at the beginning.
Of course, the focus, I'm sure, for some people is, let me get done. Let me get this load finished. Let's get this load on. But in most instances, storms, thunder, lightning storms, they usually pass through pretty quickly. How much time are you willing to bank your life on? That would be something that I would ask myself. 5 minutes that I'm going to need to finish this load, lots of things could happen in 5 minutes. You could be standing out there and be struck by lightning. You could be putting yourself in a very precarious, unsafe situation that might result in you being hurt badly or worse. I don't think anybody wants to die while doing this job.
If you feel like you're pushing it, you probably need to back up.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you've reached a point where you're uncomfortable and you're having to go, oh, I need to hurry up, I need to get this done, you're uncomfortable at that point. You are now pushing the envelope.
It's time to back up.
It's time to stop. It's time to think about what's going on here for a second, quit. My analogy I always like to put on is live to fight another day. And to me, that's just, that's part of it. That's part of the equation.
Yeah, there's no hero awards for getting a load.
Unfortunately, there are not. Matter of fact, I can't imagine anybody having anything written on their headstone that they got that load of oil. To me, it's just not worth it.
Do you need permission from a supervisor to shut down that truck and get in your cab?
No, I mean, you need to be thinking in terms of self-preservation, self-safety at that point. That's how you need to be thinking. There's not going to be a single supervisor, dispatcher, manager that's going to be upset with you because you didn't continue to load during a hazardous condition. You need to, that if nothing else, you'll get praise and congratulated for making that type of decision.
What if I'm at a lease, at one of these flowback leases, where things are just running and gunning, full flow, I mean, it's just one truck after another, and here comes the lightning.
Our customer is going to recommend that you stop the loading process. If you have a representative, in other words, a flowback hand that comes out and demands that you work in an unsafe condition, my recommendation at that point is to turn the camera on your truck and record that conversation between you and that flowback hand. I would be more than willing to say that anybody with safety would be very disappointed in any person asking someone to do something in an unsafe manner. And not to mention the fact that every single Coastal Plains employee, not just truck drivers, employees, from the GM all the way down to the man who washes the trucks at any given location, has a stop work authority. You can stop work if you believe the conditions have become too hazardous or some other unsafe type of condition exists. And nobody is going to chastise you or belittle you over that.
So when we see the lightning and we think, oh, I need to get in my cab, that doesn't mean get in your cab and leave everything running.
That's correct. Now you're doing nothing but asking for problems at that point, because if there were a spill or a rupture or some type of failure of some kind, you're not going to be in attendance to be able to handle that issue and mitigate that problem because everything's still wide open. In the event that you have to stop loading for whatever the reason may be, whether it's weather related or mechanical, whatever condition may exist, stop the loading process. Turn the pump off, turn the lack off, close a valve, stop the loading process. That way the oil, there won't be an issue if something were to happen.
And it's like you said earlier, don't wait till the last minute. Give yourself time to do these things.
Absolutely.
Put yourself in a pinch. If you put yourself in a panic, you're going to make a mistake.
Absolutely.
You might be back in the cab thinking, oh, I'm out of the rain, I'm out of the lightning. And then you remember, I didn't shut the pump. I closed the valve, but I didn't shut off my pump.
Right.
Make sure you're thorough.
Absolutely.